CDFI, I talked a lot about CDFI about a year and a half ago, and CDFI is community development financial institutions. There's only a handful of CDFI companies that can offer CDFI financing in the country, and these funds are set aside by Treasury, on what can be lent through these CDFI approved banks and credit unions. And they just cut the funding for CDFI from 324 million down to 119 million, stating that there was a lot of fraud and just kind of misrepresentation, misuse of those dollars. Now, what's interesting about CDFI is it's the only program out there that can really be outside of the ATR rules, the ability to repay. So you can see in some instances with good credit scores, like full no-doc loans available through these CDFI banks. So, and look, I think there's some cases where this type of financing can be very helpful in, local community development. And but it obviously, just based on the type of loans that they are, it's not surprising that there might be kind of a misuse of some of those funds. This article in particular is really criticizing that, cutting down the availability of the funds itself and the exposure to this type of financing isn't really solving the problem. The problem is if there's fraud and abuse going on, we need to put guardrails in place, and we need to address that waste, fraud, and abuse, not just simply cut the funding and have less funds available, but not do anything about the waste, fraud, and abuse, right? But that's interesting. So if you're someone who's doing CDFI loans, then you might want to be aware of this. This represents a 63% reduction in the funding that will be available in 2027 for these types of transactions. So that's interesting. And on the heels of that, I would say that falls into the non-QM category. The true non-QM loans, which do have ATR rules, we see expanding, pretty drastically right now in their usage and utilization. So it's kind of interesting to see kind of a segment of that is kind of losing some of its capital. It'll be interesting how that impacts the banks who focus on CDFI.